Beneath the golden skies of Mount Olympus, where clouds drifted like silver veils, begins a story that echoes across centuries, a story not of ordinary love, but of destiny and power. At its center stands Zeus, king of the gods, ruler of thunder, bearer of authority, whose voice commanded both heaven and earth, a presence as vast as the skies he governed. Beside him is Hera, radiant and regal, goddess of marriage and loyalty, a figure of grace and command, embodying the strength and dignity of every bond she guarded. Together, they shaped a union unlike any other, a marriage celebrated as the crown of Olympus, yet woven with devotion and rivalry, tenderness and pride, harmony and discord. Their bond revealed not perfection, but complexity, showing that even divine rulers faced struggles of love, pride, and endurance, lessons carried into the hearts of mortals. Through Zeus and Hera, the ancient Greeks explored the mysteries of partnership, the balance of unity and independence, the struggles of loyalty, and the resilience within love. This tale is not only of gods, but of human truth, reflected in divine form, reminding us that power and struggle walk hand in hand, shaping a marriage eternal. Long before Olympus crowned their marriage, Zeus and Hera's story began with a meeting that felt destined, a moment that would echo through ages and shape the myths of gods and mortals. Hera's beauty was said to calm storms, her eyes carrying wisdom and pride, her voice flowing with grace, a presence that inspired awe in gods and mortals wherever she walked among them. She was admired not just for her beauty, but for her dignity and strength, her devotion to family, and her destiny as the daughter of Cronus and Rhea, born for greatness. Zeus, already king of Olympus, held thunder in his hands and command in his gaze, yet for all his unmatched strength, he longed for a queen who could stand beside him. He found that in Hera, not only in her regal bearing, but in her unwavering spirit, her intelligence, and her power to rule as an equal partner in the divine order of Olympus. Their first encounters were not simple. Hera, proud and cautious, resisted Zeus's intentions. She valued loyalty, honor, and trust, and would not yield easily to his charms or his power. Zeus admired not just her beauty, but her sharp mind and determination. He saw in her a strength unlike any other, and he was determined to win her affection and trust. He tried many ways, gifts, promises, displays of might, but Hera was unmoved. To her, marriage was sacred, something that required loyalty, devotion, and endurance, not fleeting gestures. For a long time, Hera resisted. She tested Zeus's patience, watched his persistence, and sought proof that his desire was not a passing storm, but a true and lasting devotion. Zeus, however, did not give up. Instead of force, he showed patience, a rare quality for the god of thunder. Slowly, he revealed humility behind his power, and Hera began to see. One tale tells that Zeus disguised himself as a small bird, cold and trembling in the rain. Moved by compassion, Hera took it in her hands, showing the tenderness of her heart. In that moment, Zeus revealed his true form and declared his love. By mixing cleverness with vulnerability, he showed Hera that even the greatest god could bow to humility. This act softened her resolve. Hera, though still cautious, allowed herself to be courted. Their bond grew through laughter, debates, and quiet moments that revealed the depths of their spirits. For the first time, Zeus found someone who would challenge him, balance his pride, and stand as his equal. It was more than love. It was the foundation of partnership. When they finally married, the heavens rejoiced. Rivers sang, earth bloomed, skies glowed with radiant light. Gods and mortals celebrated a union that crowned Olympus with a queen of strength, Their marriage was honored as a symbol of harmony between power and devotion. Yet, even then, the seeds of complexity were present, for their bond was strong but never simple. Zeus's passion and Hera's pride would bring both harmony and conflict. Their love was written not in perfect melody, but in tension, reconciliation, and the endurance of loyalty. Still, as they stood beneath the heavens on their wedding day, their bond seemed unbreakable, destined to endure trials and triumphs, shaping the myths that would be told forever. The first encounter of Zeus and Hera was not just a beginning, it was the foundation of one of mythology's greatest tales, reflecting the trials and resilience of every partnership. Through them, the Greeks saw truths of their own lives: love that must be earned, trust that must be tested, and unions that require patience, endurance, and unwavering strength. Even gods were not free from the struggles of love. And so began the marriage of Zeus and Hera, a union of destiny, power, and struggle, echoing through the ages, eternal. When Zeus and Hera were joined in marriage, it was more than the union of two beings. It was the crowning of Olympus, a moment that gave the throne not only a king, but also a queen. The wedding was a spectacle unlike any before. The skies glowed with brilliance, the earth bloomed, rivers carried music, and every corner of creation rose to celebrate their divine union. For Zeus, who had secured power through strength, Hera brought stability. For Hera, with her dignity and wisdom, the marriage offered a throne upon which she could rule as sovereign. From the beginning, Hera was more than a consort. She commanded respect in her own right, not only as goddess of marriage and family, but as a divine ruler whose presence anchored Olympus. She became the voice of discipline, of structure, of loyalty. Mortals turned to her for protection, and in every household, her blessing was seen as the mirror of her own sacred role. Zeus symbolized raw authority, the thunder that demanded order. But without Hera, his reign risked being unchecked. With her beside him, Olympus gained harmony, balance, and lasting legitimacy. Their marriage reshaped divine life. Hera's presence brought dignity and accountability, ensuring Zeus could not act without question. Even kings, her voice reminded, must honor bonds greater than themselves. Mortals celebrated Hera with prayers and festivals, asking her blessing on marriages. She became the guardian of vows, giving families hope that their unions could endure trials, as hers did. For Zeus, Hera's devotion brought permanence. Her loyalty, even in struggle, gave weight to his throne. Together, they symbolized an empire crowned not only with power, but with enduring tradition. Yet their marriage was not quiet. Olympus often rang with their debates, Hera's sharp words meeting Zeus's thunder. Power shared is power tested. But in testing, bonds proved their strength. Their wedding was woven into legend. Gaia, the earth itself, offered a gift, a tree of golden apples, symbols of eternal love, divine promise, and bonds tied to the fabric of creation. The Greeks saw their union as a mirror of their own lives. In Hera's devotion, they saw loyalty. In Zeus's strength, protection. In their struggles, the resilience of human marriage. It was never about perfect harmony. Their marriage was a story of resilience, of love and pride, of unity forged not only in joy, but in the trials that tested endurance. So their marriage became the crown of Olympus. King and queen, Zeus and Hera, embodied the brilliance of divine power and the unshakable complexity of love and commitment itself. At first glance, the marriage of Zeus and Hera shone like the crown of Olympus itself. Together they were king and queen, radiating power and embodying the balance of heaven and earth. But beneath the brilliance lay complexities that made their bond one of myth's most fascinating tales. It was not a love without shadows, but one woven with devotion, rivalry, affection, and pride. Hera's devotion to marriage was absolute, for she was the goddess of loyalty, vows, and families. Her vision of love was unity and permanence, a bond built on trust, respect, and sacred duty. Zeus, however, though powerful and magnetic, was not always guided by the same sacred ideals. His affections wandered, his desires restless, often leading him beyond the bounds of marriage. This difference became the seed of tension, the spark that ignited storms within their union. For every moment of tenderness, a shadow of betrayal tested Hera's patience and wounded her pride. Her dignity would not allow her to quietly accept such slights, for she was no silent consort. She reminded Zeus that even kings must honor bonds, for love without loyalty is fleeting desire. Her voice, sharp and unwavering, echoed across Olympus whenever she felt wronged or betrayed. And yet, despite the storms, their bond endured, stronger than either anger or disappointment. Zeus admired Hera's strength even when it turned against him, for she was power equal to his. Their quarrels were legendary, but so too were the reconciliations that followed each fierce clash. After storms came fragile unity, reaffirming their destiny as king and queen of Olympus. To the gods, their marriage was a spectacle, proof that even divinity did not ensure harmony. To mortals, it became a mirror of human love, joys, sorrows, struggles, and the test of loyalty. People prayed to Hera for protection, knowing she understood the trials of loyalty and devotion. They prayed to Zeus for strength, aware he embodied both power and imperfection in equal measure. Together, they symbolized love's dual nature, radiant yet turbulent, protective yet unpredictable. There were tender moments, too, when Zeus sought Hera's wisdom and trusted her insight deeply. She was more than queen. She was his counsel, his anchor, and his equal in matters of Olympus. Though often wounded, Hera's bond to Zeus endured, and she stood at his side in loyalty. She defended Olympus, guided their children, and preserved the dignity of their shared throne. This duality, clash of pride and pull of love, defined their marriage and shaped Olympus itself. They were not simply husband and wife, but symbols of opposing forces joined in constant struggle. Zeus was authority without limit, thunder unrestrained, while Hera was loyalty and sacred order. Together, they forged a balance, not in ease, but through challenge, debate, and resilience. The Greeks saw in them an eternal lesson that marriage is no simple path of harmony. It is shaped by trials, by loyalty tested against desire, and pride tested against humility. Their union, though turbulent, endured, and that endurance gave it meaning across ages. Their love was not flawless, but a story of betrayal, forgiveness, resilience, and devotion. It endured storms and reconciliations, surviving pride and jealousy, stronger with every trial. In the end, what defined their marriage was not perfection, but the strength to endure. Even in conflict, Zeus and Hera stood together as king and queen, rulers of Olympus. Their love, complex and turbulent, proved that even divine unions face truths of human hearts. Love is never simple, but always powerful, and theirs shaped both Olympus and the world below. When we think of Zeus and Hera, we often picture storms, quarrels, and reconciliations. But beyond their struggles as husband and wife, they shared something greater: their children. These children carried both the thunder of their father and the dignity of their mother. Through them, Olympus shaped realms of war, love, craftsmanship, and the forces guiding mortal life. One of their most renowned children was Ares, the god of war, fierce and reckless. He embodied the spirit of battle, bold and untamed, carrying the pride of his divine lineage. Though many gods frowned upon him, Hera loved Ares fiercely, seeing her own strength in him. Then there was Hebe, goddess of youth, cupbearer of the gods, serving nectar and ambrosia. She represented vitality, renewal, and the eternal flame of youth, blessing mortals with vigor. Her presence reminded Olympus that even among gods, freshness and innocence had their place. Another child was Hephaestus, god of fire and craftsmanship. Quiet, steady, and endlessly creative, he forged weapons, palaces, and wonders admired even by Zeus, shaping beauty from fire and stone. Some myths say Hera bore him alone and rejected him for his deformity, casting him away. Yet Hephaestus rose from rejection to greatness, proving resilience and artistry could forge strength. Through fire and hammer, he crafted marvels that adorned Olympus, transforming weakness into divine beauty. Hera and Zeus also shared Eileithyia, goddess of childbirth, gentle yet powerful in sacred duty. She guided mothers in their most vulnerable moments, easing pain and granting safe passage to life. Eileithyia reflected Hera's softer side, devotion to family, and the sacred continuity of existence. Together, their children painted a portrait of a family far from ordinary, yet deeply meaningful. They embodied war and youth, craftsmanship and life, binding Zeus and Hera as parents and rulers. But their family was not free from tension, reflecting struggles between power, dignity, and loyalty. Ares brought disapproval from gods, while Hephaestus bore the shadow of Hera's painful rejection. Even their children mirrored their parents, torn between pride, resilience, strength, and the will to endure. Yet their existence proved love, however turbulent, could give rise to greatness that shaped eternity. Mortals saw these children as guides and patrons, shaping their lives through divine influence. Ares embodied the fire of warriors, Hebe the renewal of youth, Hephaestus the strength of creation. Eileithyia gave mothers hope, reminding them that childbirth was sacred under divine protection. In each child, the essence of Zeus and Hera lived on authority from him, resilience from her. Together, their children reflected the eternal dance of strength and loyalty within Olympus. Beyond quarrels and storms, their marriage left a legacy woven into divine and mortal lives. Their children shaped existence itself, carrying forward the power and devotion of their parents. It proved that even a union marked by conflict could produce greatness enduring through ages. Their legacy was not only thrones or storms, but creation, life, and the presence of divinity. And in that legacy, their bond, complicated yet enduring, found its truest expression. Every love story carries shadows, and for Zeus and Hera, jealousy was a storm that never slept. Hera, goddess of marriage, stood for loyalty and dignity. But Zeus's restless heart often strayed. Zeus was powerful and charismatic, his charm irresistible, drawing mortals and immortals alike to him. Often, he descended to the mortal world seeking companionship, leaving Hera wounded and betrayed. For Hera, who embodied fidelity, each betrayal was thunder striking her heart, deep and unforgiving. Her jealousy was not pettiness, but dignity wounded, pride scorched by the shame Zeus brought upon her. She fought not as a victim, but as a queen, defending her throne, her vows, and her honor. Her anger was fierce, her responses unyielding, her resolve stronger than any storm Zeus could summon. But Hera's wrath often turned not on Zeus himself, but on those he pursued in reckless desire. Mortal women caught in Zeus's gaze became targets of Hera's fury, punished for love they never sought. The story of Io tells how Zeus disguised her as a cow, but Hera was never deceived. She claimed the cow as a gift, setting Argus with 100 eyes to guard her every step. In another tale, Hera disguised herself, whispering poison into Semele's heart until tragedy consumed her. Though cruel in appearance, Hera's vengeance was born from betrayal, pain sharpened into divine fury. Her cunning was her weapon, her strategies designed to protect vows Zeus treated too lightly. The myths painted her as merciless, yet beneath was devotion, a wounded heart demanding respect. Zeus and Hera clashed endlessly, their quarrels shaking Olympus, their storms echoing through heaven and earth. Yet their bond endured, scarred but unbroken, strengthened through conflict and tempered by fire. Zeus admired Hera's fire, even when it scorched him, for it was the same fire he loved. To mortals, Hera's jealousy was a warning and a mirror, reflecting betrayal and the cost of pride. She understood human sorrow, for divine love carried wounds no less painful than mortal hearts. Her jealousy became resilience, proof she would not bow, proof her love was fierce and unyielding. Their union survived storms, not in spite of jealousy, but because of it, scarred yet enduring. Love, even divine love, is never simple. It is tested, wounded, yet capable of survival. For every storm of betrayal revealed their pride, their pain, and their unbreakable bond of eternity. Every marriage faces storms, and for Zeus and Hera, those storms could shake Olympus itself. Their quarrels were fierce, their silences heavy, echoing louder than thunder across the heavens. Hera, wounded by betrayal, sometimes conspired with gods to humble Zeus and restrain his pride. One tale tells of a plot with Poseidon and Athena, binding Zeus in chains of defiance. But the plan failed, and Zeus's wrath scattered them, his fury burning brighter than the Sunday. Hera was punished, suspended from the heavens, golden chains binding her in the endless sky. Her cries resounded through Olympus, yet even in pain, her dignity and pride never faltered. Zeus, for all his might, could not strip her of strength, nor her throne as queen eternal. When storms passed, reconciliation followed, fragile yet enduring, binding them once again as one. Hera stood as Zeus's equal, fierce and unyielding, never fading into silence or shadow. Her defiance was her crown, her voice a force he could never silence or diminish. Sometimes reconciliation came in tenderness, Zeus offering gifts of beauty, splendor, and divine devotion. He built her gardens of gold, palaces of marble, tokens of apology for broken vows. He whispered promises of loyalty, though fleeting, still enough to soften Hera's wounded heart. Hera, though scarred by betrayal, allowed herself to return, not forgetting, but choosing to endure. Their marriage was not perfection, but persistence, two wills clashing, bending, and mending again. Olympus itself was shaped by their storms, gods learning that love demands both power and forgiveness. Mortals gazed at their union and saw themselves reflected, fragile yet determined in their struggles. They saw that even gods quarreled, that love required patience, sacrifice, and the courage to endure. Hera became a symbol of dignity, enduring betrayal without surrendering her strength or her pride. Zeus, in his authority, bore the reminder that power carries responsibility and the weight of respect. Their union embodied trial and reconciliation, weaving lessons into myth for gods and mortals alike. In every quarrel, a teaching. In every reconciliation, a fragile hope that love could survive. Olympus may have laughed at their storms, yet beneath was awe for their enduring bond. Even gods were bound by love's trials, proving the heart spares no one, mortal or divine. Their marriage taught that reconciliation is strength, the courage to mend what storms tried to break. And so, through fire and silence, they endured, scarred yet bound, rivals and lovers forever. The marriage of Zeus and Hera was more than a divine tale. It was a mirror of mortal life. Mortals looked to their union and saw guidance, warnings, and hope intertwined with every struggle. Zeus stood as the king of gods, embodying power, destiny, and the authority that shaped worlds. He could bless with abundance or bring storms, reminding mortals that choices carried heavy consequences. To worship Zeus was to honor justice, to respect power, and to acknowledge its responsibility. Hera, goddess of marriage, was closer to the human heart, embodying vows, loyalty, and endurance. She understood betrayal and jealousy, but also the strength to preserve dignity through unending storms. Mortals prayed to Hera at weddings, seeking her blessing for loyalty, devotion, and fruitful unions. Women called her name during childbirth, invoking her protection at the fragile threshold of life. Her endurance inspired families, proving hardship could be faced with pride, dignity, and unbroken strength. But her wrath was feared, for Hera punished betrayal, guarding marriage vows with unyielding force. She reminded mortals that love was sacred, that promises carried weight beyond mere words. Zeus and Hera together taught lessons, power and loyalty, love and conflict, storms and reconciliation. Their quarrels revealed that even divine unions faltered, demanding patience, forgiveness, and persistence. Their reconciliation showed that broken vows could heal, that hope survived even the fiercest storms. For mortals, their marriage was a paradox, inspiration, and caution, beauty and burden woven as one. Kings and queens prayed to them, asking guidance to rule with strength balanced by compassion. Couples invoked their names at weddings, desiring loyalty and resilience to survive life's trials. Even ordinary hearts felt their presence, knowing the gods shared joys and sorrows of love. The myths endured, carried by storytellers, woven into families, laws, and prayers of countless lives. Through Zeus and Hera, mortals learned love is fragile and sacred, scarred, yet eternal. They saw that power without compassion falters, and loyalty without forgiveness cannot endure. Theirs was not an idealized story, but a truth showing gods too struggled with love's weight. If Zeus and Hera could endure storms and reconcile, mortals found courage to do the same. Their union shaped traditions, ceremonies, and vows, influencing countless generations beyond Olympus's gates. Through every whispered prayer, every vow spoken, their presence lingered, guiding, watching, and enduring. As we near the final chapter, we step back to see the great legacy of Zeus and Hera. Their marriage, though turbulent, cast a shadow that stretched across heaven and the mortal world. The myths of their union were not mere stories, but lessons and reflections whispered through generations. For mortals, Zeus and Hera embodied love bound with power, even when storms threatened to tear the sky. In temples across Greece, Hera was honored as the goddess of marriage, invoked to bless sacred unions. Zeus, with unmatched authority, stood as the eternal guardian of justice, order, and divine leadership. Together, their presence shaped beliefs about loyalty, duty, and the fragile balance of relationships. Their legacy was not only about conflict, but also resilience and the endurance of their bond. Though storms raged, they never abandoned each other, becoming symbols of strength through trials. Their myths reminded mortals that love is rarely gentle, power is rarely kind, yet both endure. This endurance made them unforgettable, their story echoing with truths recognizable in human lives. The Greeks saw not perfection in their gods, but reflections of humanity flawed, passionate, enduring. Zeus and Hera's tales survived for millennia, still told in books, on stages, and in culture today. They became archetypes. Zeus as ruler carrying power's burden, Hera as queen of pride and loyalty. Their story reminds us that love, authority, and resilience walk together, shaping destinies across time. From Olympus, their tale flowed like rivers, shaping not only myth, but mortal understanding of self. Even now, struggles of love and authority echo themes first born in their divine marriage. Zeus and Hera are storytellers themselves, their lives a canvas of love, pride, and resilience. Their story lingers, eternal, reminding us that even gods wrestled with trials that define us all.